Hi. Give me just a second. Can you hear me okay? I'm really slow at this because I'm not used to it, so be patient with me. Yeah, I just picked up some knives. That looks real good. Just gonna wait for a couple minutes, see if we can get more than just a few people in here. While we're waiting, I could go ahead and answer some questions, some quick questions with the tarot. Hello. I've always liked to see France. There's definitely a lag. Well, I don't really know how this live stuff works, and I don't know why I get so nervous on lives. Oh, I bet, yeah. It's only going on about 2 p.m. here. So, anywho, with lives, I'm a little bit awkward. I don't quite understand how they work and all the operations on them. The chat, I'm not really seeing it in live. It's a little bit of a lag. So if it takes me a little bit to respond to your questions or your comments, that would be why. All right, so if there was one thing in particular that I really, really wanted to bring up is that it often comes up in my personal readings, just personal conversations with family and friends about, narcissistic people and us becoming involved with them, especially as empaths. It's just like a natural opposite. It's almost like magnetic because what they need, we supply, but the unfortunate thing is they don't supply it back. If there's one big thing that I would like to convey is that when we find ourselves in relationships, one after another, and it just seems like the same soul but in a different body, so it's one narcissist after another, it comes to a point where we have to be accountable that we are the common denominator in getting involved with these people. And so I just want to touch base on how absolutely important it is not only to deflect, by representation or explanation of the negative behaviors of somebody who may deal with narcissistic symptoms or other cognitive behavior disorders, is that I get nervous and I lost where I was going. Where was I going with that? Anywho, getting to the point is that if there wasn't something broken within ourselves, we would not continue to attract these people into our lives. It's like, if you do not first recognize love within yourself, you cannot recognize love in your external environment. Just like that quote of, it takes one to know one, right? So if you're identifying negative traits in somebody else, it's because those traits probably exist within you too. Hopefully, you've learned to transmute them and change those negative behavior traits. But if there's one thing that really concerns me, and it concerned me about myself also, was that I have a pattern of falling in love with people who can't love me back. But I have an issue that my biggest fear is abandonment and not to be loved and not to be, accepted and therefore rejected. And so I just wanted to convey how absolutely important it is to take self-accountability even when you are a victim in a situation. It's a process of elimination of how did I find myself here and how do I never find myself here again. If you were to, fall through ice, you probably ain't going to be treading on ice a whole lot after that. Some people are thrill seekers, but I thought it would be interesting to hear people's opinions about, we hear a lot about the narcissist, but what about the victims that end up in the situations with narcissists? It's almost what it kind of reminds me of is a issue with people who are codependent in a way. And I'm not talking crap on people who have been in relationships with narcissists. I have the same problem. But if there's one thing through process of meditation, reflection, and having the courage to face my own bullshit, I realized that it's almost like I would find myself in those positions to enable a standard of which I created to be good enough for myself. I didn't believe that I deserved more. I didn't believe that somebody would treat me better, and you settle. And you end up in these relationships with the person you absolutely fear to be in a relationship with because they cannot love you. And so I guess I want to get across the importance of self-care in these situations and not just only pointing the finger at the narcissist, but what are we doing that keeps us repeating these cycles and going back into relationships with people who treat you with, reckless abandon and as if they have no soul and they don't care about you. One minute they're love bombing you, the next minute they're love bombing Sue down the street. And so how do victims protect themselves? How do they identify within themselves the key points of which are their own triggers? It's like I remember for the longest time I felt like my picker was broken. Like it's like no matter what, I think I'm doing better. So the first guy could have, just been a high school dropout, while the next guy I was seeing, well, he had a master's degree and he was well off, and I thought I had set my standards higher. Well, I may have, but did I actually set my standards higher for myself? Or what I thought externally in socioeconomically what I should be going after. Sorry about my mess over here, jeez. My whole backdrop is falling off. Anywho, so with self-reflection, I also noticed that there was many times that I would find myself in these emotional, I would plummet emotionally after feeling like all my life, or no matter what relationships or personal relationships I had shared interpersonal relationships, that I was always giving, but I was expecting to receive that back. And, and that definitely hits another key point with me is like, who am I to expect anything from anybody? Nobody's obligated to me to love me. Nobody is obligated to me to give me, accolades when I've done a good job or whatnot. And I feel that it's very important, especially the people, which I have noticed are a lot, dealing with other people who do have narcissistic tendencies or cognitive behavioral delays, is that, it's not only their fault. And see, I lost track again because I get nervous. So how can we identify these traits within ourselves? What is it that we're actually looking for? Are we looking for something outside of our actual selves to bring happiness? Or are we going within and mending what was broken within us to begin with. So, I mean, it's open for a discussion, and as long as there's not, you know, obviously a ton of people in the room, I don't mind pulling some cards out either. These lives make me so nervous. Oh my gosh. Or how about those covert ones that really do a good job on making you think that they're like outstanding people? Like, wow, how did I land this person in my life? Like, how did I end up in a relationship with somebody so, I don't know, damn near perfect? And then, you know, a year later, 2 years later, too late in a marriage or with children, you find out this person wasn't a thing that you thought they had been. And it's almost like your whole entire reality gets trashed the moment you realize that you've been in love with an illusion your entire relationship. I mean, you see the red flags. We all do, don't we? So what is it about those behaviors, those cold traits, those neglectful, abandoned traits of these people that is so soothing to the empath, to the overgiver? Why is it soothing for somebody who already overgives to deplete themselves for, it's like a security blanket. And they don't have, and I think the hardest part about it is dealing with the concept afterwards is like, did this person ever care about me, or was I living in an alternate reality from this person the entire time? And how do you find closure on something that it's really difficult? It's almost like it creates a tortured soul. People will sit around waiting. And, you know, and the thing is it creates a drug addict out of the victim, the person who is being manipulated and used and constantly being traded in and out for a newer model. Because when you're with that person and they love bomb you, it creates these, you know, chemical releases in your brain similar to that of when you're doing illicit drugs. And then they slowly start taking that, you know, that love, affection away from you in order to condition you into whatever it is that they're trying to get out of you, which they don't even know. So the expectation is always moving. And next thing you know, you're like that person sitting at a slot machine with a diaper on, just pulling on this slot machine over and over again, throwing everything that you have into it because you don't know how big the reward will be, but you know it's in there somewhere. And when you get it, it's like that fix. It's like that, it's that hit. And that's what keeps people coming back. And it's really reckless how some people don't fully understand being in a position of an abusive relationship, and they find themselves, or they'll be in front of somebody or telling somebody who is that, why don't you just leave? Well, if it's that bad, why don't you just go? It's just not that easy. One, there's a, like, literally, it's created like a physical, mental, emotional dependency. Two, they slowly eliminate everything out of your life, all your possessions, all your friends, your family. They just kind of, you know, create this big wedge and they isolate. But that's usually what abusers do to their victims, is they isolate them. And they also like to, you know, alter the perception of the victim as being the abuser. So the victim then can't reach out, because if they were to claim the abuse and be honest about it, they've already been perpetrated as the abuser and nobody believes them. And it's disheartening to see people who don't know, obviously, because they wouldn't say things with that kind of reckless abandon about, well, if you don't like it, just leave. Oh, I don't believe that's going on, because if it was, you would just leave. Well, it's not that easy. Especially when it seems like you have no friends and nobody to talk to about your current cycle of abuse that you're experiencing with your narcissist. And I don't like labeling everybody as a narcissist, but it's the best way to generally get the point across, because of how the large array of the cognitive development and behavior disorders there can be associated within the narcissistic disorder. So I guess the biggest thing I want to get across in this short live video is that anybody who is in a situation of which they feel like they're unheard or they can't reach out, there's other people going through it, more people than what you would ever imagine are going through this. There's more people that would understand than you would think. Not everybody hates you for going back. I mean, any recovering addict, most times, 9 times out of 10, relapses from time to time before they become strong enough to completely become, you know, independent from the drug. But it's almost as if I didn't realize my own behavior patterns until I realized the very things I've talked about so far in this video within myself. And it's sad and concerning how rampant the problem is of people treating other people with complete disregard, whether it be sex, skin color, culture, religion, because they assume that they know these people, but they're absolutely undereducated. And when people act out of, you know, violence and hatred, it's literally fear. And where that stems from is a lack of education of what they're fearing. They don't know about it, so they're scared of it. But I'd be damned if somebody picks up their damn phone and picks up Google to do some research and understand people. I mean, what is it about what somebody wears or their sexual preference that makes them any less of a human being than me or you? It's like they just become, people are so scared of each other anymore. Just even me getting on this live video is really hard for me because I have an issue with not being liked. And I'm working on that. That's actually why I started my YouTube channel. So it's like I get very nervous. I get stage fright. And yeah, I cower a lot, especially when I need to speak in front of people. Even doing my like pre-recorded videos, I get nervous. It takes me about a good 20-30 minutes to calm down before I make a pre-recorded video. It's like the social expectations of which have been put on people of all kinds, whether it's male, female, mother, dad, grandparents, are ridiculously high. They're unachievable. And so that always leaves room for somebody to criticize. But how do you learn to live with that? It's not going to go away. The more we have access to each other, the worse it's going to become. So what do you do within yourself to establish a very strict boundary of where you end and they begin? I mean, who are they to you? Do they really matter? And if they did, why would they treat you this way? Do you matter to them? I think that's the hardest question to answer in general is, did I ever matter to you? And I think another hard question is, why was it okay to do this to me when I would never do such a thing to you? And that's another thing that we do. We like to project our own beliefs, thoughts, feelings into other people without acknowledging the fact that other people are other people. They're individuals. And just because I feel this way about a topic doesn't mean that they do. Just because I learned about X, Y, and Z when I was growing up in elementary school doesn't mean that this person had it. And they don't even have to be from other cultures or countries. It could literally be from one state to another. I don't know. It's sad to see all the judgmental people, the prejudiced, the racist, the sexist. Let's talk about that for a minute. Beyond the fact that the races of women are still far behind. And I'm not trying to get on no like rant about this or that. But it's like women hate each other for the most part and we tear each other apart. In essence, when we do that, we hold each other back. It's like, I don't know, waking up and smelling the coffee when you realize that even though you've been a victim of emotional neglect, abuse, and, you know, just complete turmoil all your life, that you are also a victim to your own abuse. That you, I mean, I understand there's circumstances of which you had no control, but then you found yourself putting yourself back in those situations, because it's like one of those weighted blankets that just brings us relief to be in these chaotic situations that remind you of something familiar. It's that whole trauma style childhood. And it doesn't even have to be trauma. It could just be emotional neglect, not being around enough. Maybe your parents, were really great and had you in all sorts of stuff, but it didn't spend time with you one-on-one. There's all sorts of things that can cause abandonment issues beyond a parent actually leaving. It's teach me how to love me. And that's the answer. It's teach me how to love me for who I am, not who you think I should be. It's the more you heal yourself, the less other people matter, the less their opinions matter to you, and the better you feel when you let those people and their negative energy go. It's like, geez, who likes to be so negative all the time? If you meet somebody and all they do is complain, or they talk crap about all their other friends with you, as soon as you leave, they're talking crap about you too. It's like, if we would just sit still and observe our environment and observe the interactions of other people instead of being so quick to jump into any kind of connection with them, we might find the answer of who this person is, or uncover them before ever becoming involved. But so that was just kind of a thought that I wanted to share and get off my mind. And I'm open to hearing opinions. And I hope that this becomes more of a discussion topic. Take the attention off of the narcissist and put it on the victim, and hold the victim accountable for their lack of tools of understanding what it is that keeps placing them back in these rhetoric abusive cycles. And I say that with compassion, utmost compassion. But sometimes we need to hear the truth. And we create victims out of ourselves and the situations that we go through. At some point, you have to be accountable. At some point, you have to learn this hurts or this is dangerous and stay away from it. Because they won't stay away from you. So, thank you for joining me, for the people who did. And I look forward to maybe trying to do this a little more often and become more comfortable with it. I hope you have a great day, and I'll be back shortly with more collective readings. All right, see you later.